The 28th of July 1976, the industrial city of Tangshan, China is completely asleep. More than 1 million citizens are resting in their beds, exhausted after a long summer day of manufacturing, mining and steel work. They have absolutely no idea that deep beneath their beds, the tectonic plates are locked in a death grip, preparing to unleash the energy of dozens of atomic bombs. In exactly 60 seconds, this entire booming metropolis will cease to exist. It will not be destroyed by a bomb, it will not be wiped out by war. It will be torn apart by the very ground it was built upon. While the 1556 Shaanxi earthquake centuries earlier holds the title for the highest death toll in history, what happened in Tangshan in 1976 is widely considered by modern historians to be the most concentrated urban disaster of the modern era. Official government numbers state that 242,000 people lost their lives in a single night. However, independent estimates, secret documents, and international intelligence agencies place the true, staggering death toll much higher, anywhere from 500,000 to over 655,000 human beings. How did a modern, thriving industrial giant collapse into rubble in less than 15 seconds? What was life like before the disaster, during those terrifying seconds of the impact, and in the chaotic, disease-ridden days after? Today, we are taking you back to 1976 to uncover the full harrowing story of the night Tangshan died. To understand the sheer magnitude of this tragedy, we first have to understand what Tangshan was before the world forgot it existed. Located in the Hebei province of China, Tangshan was not just a regular city, it was the industrial crown jewel of the nation. It was famous for its massive coal reserves, its sprawling steel mills, and its highly productive porcelain factories. It was a dense, hard-working city packed with over 1 million residents. But Tangshan had a hidden vulnerability, a flaw born from a false sense of security. Chinese seismologists and geologists had carefully mapped out the country's most dangerous seismic zones. Cities like Beijing or those in western China were heavily monitored. Tangshan, however, was classified as a region of incredibly low seismic risk. Because of this specific classification, city planners and construction companies did not design buildings to survive earthquakes. Over 85% of the residential homes, apartment complexes, and factories in Tangshan were built using unreinforced brick and masonry. They were heavy, rigid structures held together by simple mortar. They were perfectly safe against wind and storm, but they were fragile glass boxes waiting to shatter if the earth ever decided to shake horizontally. As July 28th approached, nature began sending bizarre, cryptic warning signs. But in 1976, without the advanced sensor networks we have today, these signs went entirely ignored. In the 24 hours leading up to the disaster, the water levels in local wells reportedly rose and fell erratically, sometimes bubbling with foul-smelling gas. Thousands of rats were seen fleeing buildings in broad daylight, running frantically through the streets as if escaping an invisible fire. In the villages surrounding Tangshan, farm animals went wild. Horses and cows refused to enter their barns, kicking wildly at their stalls. Even the fish in local ponds were seen leaping completely out of the water, splashing frantically. The earth was screaming that something catastrophic was coming, but humanity was deaf to its warnings. It is 3:42 in the morning. The city is dead silent. Suddenly, the sky above Tangshan lights up in a terrifying display of flashing colors. Survivors later recalled seeing blinding flashes of white, red, and blue lights shooting into the night sky, a phenomenon known as earthquake lights, caused by the extreme stress of grinding quartz rocks deep in the crust. Then the world shattered. A massive, previously unknown fault line running directly beneath the center of Tangshan ruptured at a shallow depth. The ground erupted with a magnitude 7.8 earthquake. But it wasn't just a rolling wave. Because in those 15 seconds, 85 to 90% of the buildings in Tangshan collapsed into a flat, jagged wasteland of ruins. The industrial powerhouse of China had been completely erased from the face of the earth. when the shaking finally stopped, a horrific silence fell over the ruins of Tangshan. The thick dust cloud was so dense that even with flashlights, survivors couldn't see more than a few feet in front of their faces. As the dust slowly cleared with the morning sun, the true scale of the horror became visible. As far as the eye could see, there were no streets, there were no landmarks. There were only mountains of crushed brick, twisted railway lines, and collapsed bridges. The immediate situation for the survivors was desperate. The earthquake had systematically destroyed everything required to keep human beings alive. The water mains had snapped, leaving the city with zero drinking water. The electricity grid was entirely dead. The telephone lines were severed, making it impossible for the city to call the capital for help. Every single highway bridge leading into the city had collapsed, blocking rescue trucks. The railway tracks were bent like plastic straws. Tangshan was completely isolated from the rest of the world. The survivors were entirely on their own. This is where the true horror of the death toll begins to set in. Thousands of people did not die instantly from the impact. Instead, they were trapped in small air pockets deep beneath the concrete ruins. They were alive, listening to the desperate cries of their neighbors, waiting for rescue teams that couldn't reach them. Those who were lucky enough to escape with their lives used their bare hands, pieces of wood, and iron bars to dig through the heavy bricks. The military had to resort to dropping disinfectants and water-purifying chemicals directly from airplanes across the ruined landscape to prevent a massive plague. The psychological and social impact on China was immeasurable. Over 4,000 children were instantly orphaned by the disaster, losing their entire families in less than 15 seconds. The economic output of the entire Hebei province plummeted, halting steel and coal production for months and dealing a massive blow to China's national economy during a time of extreme political transition. In fact, historical analysts note that the Tangshan earthquake had deep political consequences. In traditional Chinese culture, massive natural disasters like earthquakes or floods were historically seen as signs that a ruling dynasty had lost the mandate of heaven. Just a few months after the earthquake, Chairman Mao Zedong passed away and the Cultural Revolution officially came to an end. The disaster at Tangshan literally marked the end of an era in Chinese history. Today, if you travel to Tangshan, you will not see a wasteland. You will see a hyper-modern, bustling metropolis that is home to over 7 million residents. Like a magnificent phoenix rising from the ash and stone, Tangshan was completely rebuilt from scratch. But the city learned its lesson at a terrible price. The new Tangshan is widely considered one of the safest cities in the world against seismic activity. Every single apartment building, bridge, factory, and skyscraper built after 1976 is heavily reinforced with modern seismic engineering. They are built to bend, to sway, and to absorb the brutal shocks of a shifting earth without ever collapsing down on the occupants. The story of the 1976 Tangshan earthquake is a brutal reminder of humanity's fragility. We can build massive cities, master technology, and alter the landscape. But we will always live at the mercy of a living, breathing planet. The hundreds of thousands of names carved into the Tangshan Memorial Wall stand as a permanent monument to the importance of engineering, safety, and respect for the raw, unpredictable power of nature. What do you think is the most important lesson we can take away from the tragedy of Tangshan? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you found this deep historical look valuable, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell.